Hey guys, what's going on? Sorry about my voice. Sorry that I haven't published a video in a week. I took a holiday and I had some stuff planned to upload and my computer shut down, and I just thought to myself, I need a break from YouTube right now. I have got a lot going on in life. Obviously, you guys know that I got a new job. I don't stop talking about it enough. It takes up a lot of hours, obviously, as a full-time job would. And so I'm just learning how to manage YouTube and like how I want to do YouTube and actually manage that outside of my normal family life and my normal job. And I took a week, a holiday in Greece, and I just said, I'm just going to disconnect for a bit. I'm not going to worry about it because I do get a bit of anxiety about my YouTube, like not uploading, not hitting the views that I want to hit. It genuinely causes me a bit of anxiety. So I just thought, let's take some time to disconnect. Let's take some time to just relax, come back when I feel a bit more refreshed and go at it again. And honestly, all I did on holiday was play Hearthstone Arena, and I didn't touch any other game, and it was quite relaxing. And I feel pretty rejuvenated, and I'm really happy about that. Of course, thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There is referencing in the description below. So, let's talk a little bit about the patch coming your way today. It is going to be obviously a pretty big patch. I say that ironically, it's actually a really small patch. It's 2.4C. There are some changes. We're getting 2 new skins, which you can tell by the number of skins that are getting released. You can tell by how big the patch is. We're only getting 2. But High Noon Lucian and High Noon Sona are both really cool skins, so I'm glad they're coming. Already, only 3 new emotes and stuff coming. So we're going to be going straight into the champion changes. Lucian got pretty hard nerfed. He got nerfed, and then his items got nerfed. And I still think Lucian is strong. Don't get me wrong, but obviously in terms of win rates, Riot aren't really happy with where he's at. I still think that people in high elo consider Lucian pretty solid, especially mid lane. But he's probably just took a couple of hits that has affected his win rates across the board. So they're giving him some more base HP, and they are rebuffing the Relentless Pursuit cooldown by 1 second. I don't think these things are huge, but it is going to help his sustainability in the mid lane. Just able to eat a little bit more damage, allows him to go a bit more aggressive, might give him that slight percentage edge when going for the 1v1s, and also will effectively help out his bot lane as well. He did get some bot lane nerfs. They kind of nerfed his armor and stuff, so might help him kind of get back into the bot lane and be a bit more sort of beefy in the early game. But overall, I think these aren't going to massively shift Lucian. I think Lucian was already in an okay spot. This will just help him reclaim a little bit of like brawling power in the mid lane, and hopefully brawling power in the bot lane as well. Rammus, they're overperforming after our last, Rammus is, when you look at Rammus is a noob stomper. Rammus is designed to crush like low elo games, a bit like a Mumu is, but a lot of people have been seeing success with Rammus in high elo just because his clear speed was so quick. Like, the thing about Rammus is that if he's got a quick clear speed, it means that he's free to get ganks in because he isn't losing anything for going for the ganks. When you have a heavy ganking jungler, there is supposed to be a trade-off, and that trade-off is supposed to be that you lose out on farm. The enemy jungler is going to be able to farm more readily than you because you're investing time into going for a gank. If that gank doesn't work out, you get punished. If you have a very quick clear speed and really insane ganks, you don't get punished at all, and you can also influence those lanes. And I think what was happening with Rammus is that he was able to clear and gank more heavily than any other jungler, and that meant that he was able to be a bit more snowbally in nature. They're reducing his powerball damage, which is the damage that he deals when he crashes into things, and then also his defensive ball curl, passive damage armor ratio, active damage armor ratio, and the monster damage bonus is going up. So basically, they are reducing his damage that he deals to people when they're attacking him during the defensive bull curl, but they are compensating by just allowing him to have a slightly quicker clear speed. But I think at the end of the day, he's still going to have really, really solid clear speed, and he's still going to be able to gank heavily. These more heavily affect his late game scaling, which, Rammus has always been about a kind of a later game scaling armor tank. So whether I think this is going to massively change the way he works, I'm not entirely sure. Like 5 damage, it's 40 damage in the late game, which is pretty significant, honestly. 40 damage in the late game in the bull curl. But yeah, overall, I think Rammus is not supposed to be one-shotting 80 carries with his second ability. So this is going to just impact the amount of damage that he's dealing whilst making him slightly better clear speed. But obviously this is supposed to be compensating for the changes here. So this is not exactly saying we're buffing his clear speed overall. This is just supposed to be compensating for the changes that he's going to feel on defensive ball curl. But overall, like, Rammus is still one of those champions that I think a lot of people know how to deal with. And, you know, I think in high elo, he still has a specific place where he's pretty good into things like Master Yi and Tryndamere. But outside of those parameters, you're probably not going to see a huge amount of Rammus in high elo. Rengar. He's kind of gone under the radar as really strong, so they're reducing his armor and reducing his base attack damage. It's just going to make his early clear speed slower and force him to take a bit more damage in the early clear, which means that he's not going to be able to snowball as quickly. He's not going to be able to get level 5 as quickly, and that means he won't be able to snowball from that ultimate as quickly either. I think Rengar was in a really good spot. I know that Doom really rated him highly, Doom being like one of the #1 junglers on Europe right now. So he really rated Rengar quite highly, and I think this is a relatively good change overall for Rengar. Sona's been hitting all the high notes, so rather than impacting her support ability, we're going to reduce her damage. I honestly never really felt like that was Sona's issue. I never actually felt like Sona's damage was that good. I really think the issue with Sona is that in certain scenarios, it was really hard to punish her, and with the current item crop, it was very easy for her to just be constantly healing her team for ridiculous amounts. But this will kind of box her into a more supportive, you know, healing type role rather than being ridiculously good at straight up, you know, causing mayhem with her Team of Valor. But I think overall, like, this is one of the added bonuses of Sona. I'm glad they're toning down on it because you want her to be, I think you want her to be specifically going towards that kind of like team fight orientated healer. And I think obviously by reducing her damage, you're going to make it, you're going to make her more focused on the area that she's good at, whilst simultaneously making it so that she's not quite as powerful in terms of damage output. You know, you got to remember that enchanter builds right now are quite AP heavy. A lot of the items that you build have got a significant amount of AP in. So if she's already ridiculously good at healing, you shouldn't also make her damage really strong as well. So they're just toning back on the damage, boxing her in as more of a healing focused champion. And they're also reducing or increasing the cooldown on Crescendo, which was, I never really felt like the cooldown was an issue on Crescendo. And 10 seconds, I don't think, with all the ability haste that you pick up on Sona, I don't think that 10 seconds is going to make a massive difference. Sorry, if you're wondering why my throat is so screwed, it's because I've just cast the European Masters, and so I did a 5-game series, and I'm pretty pooped. TEEMO is overperforming. Do you know what? This is actually a funny story. I have been smashed by too many TEEMO top lanes recently. There were a couple of TEEMO 1 tricks that were actually doing really well. And so I actually genuinely agree that TEEMO might be in a strong spot. TEEMO has been really low on my tier list because I've always felt like it's easy to deal with. But since that tier list, I've been like absolutely ravaged by a couple of TEEMO 1 tricks. And especially at low elo. I think at high elo it's less likely to see, unless you're a really good TEEMO player, you're not as likely to see this happen. But at low elo, I can imagine that TEEMO kind of turbo stomps. So they're just reducing his base stats across the board. Health regen's going down, health per level's going down, so 10 health is like 140 health across the board. His armor's coming down, his armor per level's coming down, and his armor at level 15 is going to be reduced by about 11. So basically, this means that some of those matchups in top lane, like, you know, if you're able to get onto TEEMO, especially as an AD top laner, you're going to be able to punish him more effectively. And it means if you gank TEEMO, he's going to be much easier to take out. Doesn't stop his damage output, which is obviously one of the things that make him super strong. It's just that he's going to be slightly easier to punish, and also in team fights, he's going to be slightly easier to deal with as well. So just make him easier to kill. Everyone loves an easier to kill TEEMO, which is why this is happening. Gameplay changes. I told you it's a really bloody short patch. Zeke's has been underperforming, and its win rate as an item, a purchase item, is very low according to Riot. So they're reducing the cost by 100 gold. They're increasing the slow percentage on the Frostfire, and they're increasing the damage that you deal by 20, which is actually like a 50% damage increase per second on the Frostfire magic damage. I think there are some supports that this works really well with, like Thresh. I think it works really well on people like Braum. I think it works pretty well on people like Leona. So these engagey tank supports that are supposed to be decent into the Enchanter meta might find that this item is going to help them more effectively as a first item spike. Especially for Leona. It's a really good first item spike for Leona. It's a pretty solid first item for Thresh as well. So this might help them be a bit more effective, especially when you're using that ultimate in the middle of a team fight, just helping deal and provide more utility to your team, which I think is an interesting change. I think something needs to happen to try and tone down the Enchanter support meta right now, because like Lulu, Janna, and Nami are all really strong, and I think the people that are supposed to be good into them, like Leona and Thresh, don't have enough going for them right now to really warrant picking them. So you usually end up with Enchanter versus Enchanter. So I like this change. It might help give some utility to Enchanters where they're struggling right now. Very small patch, though. Like, you know, what do you think my TLDR of this is? You know, I think realistically, small Lucian's going to remain relatively good. I don't think he's going to be OP, but he's going to remain relatively good. I think the meta will remain very similar, if I'm honest with you. Rengar might drop a tier or so in the jungle, but I think the meta is going to remain very similar. I think the biggest change is this magic damage change and this slow change to Zeke's Convergence, because it might make some engage and utility supports a bit more effective. We'll have to see, though. Let's have a look what happens over the course of these next few days. Interesting, no changes to Nunu and Brand, though. I heard they were really strong on release. I've seen a lot of people playing them. I imagine they're going to remain strong in this patch. A lot of people complaining about how ridiculously OP Brand's damage is with Liandry's. A lot of people complaining that Nunu's too strong with like the heavy AP build. So that's interesting to see that no changes to Nunu and Brand. Very interesting. But I'm not going to keep it too long, guys. It's a very short patch today. Enjoy the changes, and we'll do a tier list once we get through.